From the margins, Spy Sister. What is the purpose of reimagining stories from a different perspective? We'll be looking at that today as we continue our series. I am Dr. K.P. McKee, founder and executive director of the Spacious Creativity and Spirituality Center. And we would love to hear from you as we share today's story. You can enter any thoughts or questions you have into the comment box on your mobile device or on your computer. We talked a little bit last time about the magic of story and how important it is. And I just want to talk a little bit more about that now, and I would like to hear your thoughts about it too, about why we tell stories. For one thing, imagining a story, especially from a different perspective, gives us an opportunity to create. And that is a human need. It is vital to us as humans to have ways to create. Also, we share our lives in story. From the most simple, how did your day go, to describing an event that was either joyous or terrifying for us, making sense of that by putting words around it in some way is important to us. As humans, we are storytellers. And then last, the reason that we're thinking about telling stories from the perspective of lesser-known persons in the story is that it helps us to stand in another person's shoe. And that makes us better world citizens and fuller human beings and helps us live into the persons that God hopes for us to be. So we're going to get ready for our story today. And to do that, you just want to get into a comfortable position and maybe take some deep breaths and just settle in and listen to a story. I'm going to sound the bell for when you get ready to begin the story, and then so that we can let the magic of the story seep in for a while afterwards, we'll sit with it and then I will sound the bell again. Last week, as we were having our first story from the margins, I shared the story of Jochebed, and as she was making her journey down to the Nile, there was something following her. So we are following that story today with this one titled Sister Spy. This is a story that I wrote, and I hope you will write some stories of your own, and we would love to read them. I am a slave child, my life poured out in service to others. Yet since birth I have learned the tales of a God who promised our forefather Abraham a nation and a land. I was suckled on stories of Isaac and Rebekah, of Jacob and Esau, of Leah and Rachel. Stories of a protector God, a deliverer God. Where was God when Hebrew babies floated dead in the Nile? Then came my mother's third labor. Mother shoved rags into her mouth to stifle the screams of childbearing. This baby would be born in the dark, alone, with me as the only attendant. I had never seen my mother so, sweating and writhing in pain, eyes fierce, wildly determined to make no sound. The child came with the dawn, a male child, sentenced on birth to death. Miriam, said Mother, after I had laid the clean child in her arms, we must secret your brother. God's blessing and hope rests on him. I nodded, feeling our smallness against the awesomeness of Pharaoh's love. So we hid him, muffled his cries with our own bodies, anticipated his needs so that he would not scream out his distress. Our eyes grew hollow with wakefulness, our hearts more determined as our task grew more incredible. And then came the night he screamed and could not be muffled. The risks we had taken until that moment were nothing to what Mother resolved to begin the next dawn. She fled our hut as the sun rose, and she came late to Pharaoh's field. That night, Mother removed the blanket covering a bed of weeds she must have gathered during the day. I watched her skillful fingers plait a lidded basket. Father brought home a bucket of tar. Its acrid aroma invaded our hut as she smeared the stuff inside the basket, into its belly and lid. She covered and recovered every inch. I asked no questions, but my eyes missed nothing. As for Mother, she again labored in silence. Her task moved her beyond words. I would honor her with my silence. When, with the dawn, she bundled my brother into a blanket and laid him in the basket, I watched from my pallet. When she set out on a solitary journey, her steps weighted with dread, I followed, silent and wary, behind. Peering between the reeds, I watched her set the basket on the gentle waves of the Nile. I read in her face the same fierce determination I saw on the birthing stool. Her eyes flashed fire and tears as she turned and walked the path to Pharaoh's fields. I would not go to the fields this day. I would stay here, a familial spy for my mother and my brother. The Nile shallows rocked my brother, and my heart pounded out a lullaby. In time, the reckless wisdom of Mother's plan came clear. The Egyptian princess, adorned in her finery, came to the river to bathe. Her attendants followed discreetly behind, carrying her bathing things. Was I more terrified that the princess's eyes would fall on my brother's small craft, or that they would not? I had no time to decide, for her sharp eyes spied something amiss in the reeded waters. I shrank back as the slave girl waded to the basket and glided it along the waters to her mistress. The princess lifted the lid. An all too familiar wail filled the morning air. No more hiding, no more waiting. My brother had been seen by Egyptian eyes. From my hiding place, I watched the princess peer into the basket. Her hand, tender, crept inside. Her face softened. I had seen that look on our women when they beheld a suffering child. An Egyptian feeling compassion for a Hebrew? How could Mother have known such a thing? It is one of the Hebrew babies, the princess said. She lifted my brother from his basket and into her arms. He nestled against her, still waiting, seeking her breast. My feet launched me forward before my mind could form thought. As I stood before the princess, God seared my imagination with a wild possibility. Princesses did not attend to the care of infants. This I knew, not even their own. Do you need a nurse for this child? I asked in the language of her people, speaking as no slave should speak to royalty. Her cold-rimmed eyes studied me, measured my purpose. Yes, she said slowly. Do you know someone? I felt sure wet nurses lived in the Egyptian palace, but she and I had come to an understanding. I do, I answered, keeping my smile of triumph as secret as we had kept my brother. Get her. I ran to Pharaoh's field. Mother, mother, I shouted. The princess needs you. I stand today, an aged woman on the far side of the Red Sea, but I do not feel my age, for at last we are a free people. My brother, wearing his Egyptian name Moses, is the leader of a new nation, Abraham's nation and Sarah's nation, Isaac's nation and Rebekah's nation, Jacob's nation and the nation of Leah and Rachel, Moses' nation, my nation. With my Hebrew sisters, I take up my tambourine, fix my eyes on my brother, and lift my voice in song. Miriam had some hard things happen in her life after this time, and I am reminded that in this past year we have had our own sense of desert wanderings and wondered how we would respond to such hardships as she and the Israelite people endured in their wandering times. That may be something, that may be a story that you would want to learn, and if you did, we would love to hear about it. So just to change to a little bit lighter note, today we begin our March Madness. The basketball begins its March Madness today, and we are doing our own takeoff. This is an idea my daughter had, and we are going to be doing it just with brackets, just like March Madness, except with art. And we would love for you to participate. We're going to set this up to begin at 5 o'clock Central Daylight Time today, and you can respond on Facebook, on Twitter, or on Instagram in the comment section on any of those. And are we going to put something about this on our website as well? Okay. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter would be the way to respond. So here's what it looks like, and you will see this when you come to one of the sites. So at the top, we have sets of brackets on each side. So at the top are titles of artworks, and these are Van Gogh's Sunflowers. You can choose between that and Klimt's The Kiss, and then and you can also choose between the Eiffel Tower and Giza's Sphinx. So you want to choose one of those two here, one of those two here, and of course we will write it in the bracket. Then we have the ending of some other art pieces that we are going to meld with these. So you would choose between slaying the Holofernes, I have probably butchered that, in blue, or and then also playing on the beach, and between that and at the Moulin Rouge. So those two things, and we're going to put those together as we move through our brackets. On the other side are art media that we will use. So the first one is, you can choose between paint and colored pencils, and you can decide what color paint you want. And then again, between crayons and chalk. Then down here, these are more surfaces that we would work on. A car and poster board. This can be a car of any size. It doesn't have to be a car that you would get in and drive. And then the second set is a cake and a wall. So we'll begin tonight, and we will take this through to Saturday night at, let's say, 5 p.m. Central Daylight Time. And then we will report next time we get together for Facebook Live about where we stand. So please participate, have some fun with it, and tell your friends about it. Be watching for it on Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook. So if you have found this helpful, we hope you will like it on Facebook. And also you can rewatch on Facebook, on YouTube, or on our website, www.aspaciousplace.com. And just to let you know too, the Sunday following Easter, we will begin again our Liminal Pages online journaling series, where you can journal in community, but keep all of your thoughts, if you wish to, private. Let's close with prayer. So much suffering can leave us feeling small and helpless, God. Give us good to do, however small, to make the world better for us having walked